Welcome to the Moringa For Life podcast. I'll be your host, Jensen Cummings. I'm excited for this episode. We're going to be talking to Libby Wild of SSP in Indonesia. Most of you have maybe seen Libby for just 2.5 minutes when we were touching base with some of our students. You had a great little clip that showed us some of your processes, showed us some of your team. Really loved seeing the team there, kind of just cleaning moringa and stuff. So you've had a little glimpse, but we're going to get deep dive into some of the past, present, and future of Libby Wild, SSP, and the project. Some of how Moringa for Life has been a part of that journey. So thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right, so take us back. Where did it start? How did you even discover moringa in the first place?
Well, yeah, it's been a crazy ride so far. We were working. Well, we've been in Indonesia for over 22 years, and we worked with several different groups in Papua. So Papua is the poorest, most eastern province of Indonesia. Indonesia is made up of about 13,000 islands, and each one is very unique and different. And so we're in Papua, and the people there are just really lovely to work with. And we've learned so much from them. They're great gardeners and very resourceful, and they're just really special people. And so as we're kind of ending our first job there, we were wanting to invest in them to see them be able to tackle globalization, which we all know is happening. The world's becoming so small, and they could easily be kind of overtaken by all that. So we were thinking, like, what could we do to help them really become participants in their communities as far as commerce? 100 years ago, they didn't really need currency, but now things are changing. And agriculture, we think, is what they are best at. So we wanted to do something that was kind of in line with their culture and their lifestyle and what they do and what they appreciate. And so we started talking about coconut products and seaweed products. They right now that where we are, we're in these beautiful Raja Ampat Islands, just pristine area, some of the most beautiful diving places in the world. And so that's what we were thinking about. And, they came up with all kinds of things like, seaweed, there's turtles, and I don't know about this and that. And somehow along the way, we mentioned moringa, which it's not called moringa in Indonesia. It's called kelor. But we were like, we've heard about that and how you traditionally use that. What do you think about that? And right away, their eyes lit up. And this was during COVID time, so we were not able to have full-time visas. I want to say it was 2021. We were just getting back, and we had short-term visas, and you really had to be an essential worker to get a long-term visa. And so we left like in November 2021 saying, maybe moringa would be what we do. And in mid-December, the island village wrote us and sent us pictures and said, we have planted our first 600 trees. Wow. And we were just like, what? How did you do that? It just seemed overwhelming. They just really were self-motivated and excited about the idea. And they knew how fast growing moringa is in Indonesia. And so this was, so for us, this was the first step at, creating these opportunities for them. It's something that they do, something that they were excited about. And then we were like, okay, what do? We don't know anything about moringa. And so we started searching the internet and came upon Moringa for Life videos. And some of those are really dated, right? But we just ate them all up. We're just watching each one, and we're making notes because we don't know anything yet. And by the time we were able to get back after those 600 trees were planted, we had trees that were like 15 feet tall. Wow, that is already growing so many. Within 3 to 6 months, you just have so much leaf. It's amazing how fast they grow. We have, because the island soil is perfect for moringa. It's that nice loamy soil, beautiful sun all day long, lots of rain at night. So, it's just a perfect condition for moringa.
It makes sense that it has like a cultural relevance there because it does grow so well. there, which makes a
It's
lot of sense to me. When you say they, you were talking to them, and they were excited about Moringa, and they were mentioning Moringa. Are we
mm-hmm.
talking about, elders in the community, or are we talking about entrepreneurs? Who specifically were you kind of trying to collaborate with?
Yeah, so we are just in we started out in one particular village on the end of this island. There's about 50 people in the village that make up there's like 2 or 3 family groups, but they're just extended family. And so no, it's everybody. Everybody was involved, even like
The whole community is kind of galvanized behind it.
They were unfortunately, as we all know, plastic and pollution is everywhere, but the little kids are like finding little water bottles, the one-use plastic kind of things, washing up into the mangroves, and they're planting seeds in those little cups, and they've got like 20 of them growing. And yeah, it's just a fun thing that the whole village got excited about. And so fast forward to, I did the Moringa for Life. Help me, which I didn't
Growers
do.
and Educators course, yeah.
Yes, because there's a few stages, right? So yeah, I went for the big packet and just loved that. And that gave us all the information we needed to know on how to get our soil healthy, how to keep it healthy, when to harvest, how to wash it. And Mariko was just with me right along at every stage. Anytime I had a question or, we've got bacteria, what do I do? We were sending samples back to the US and getting the results. I'm like, oh man, we still have high bacteria. What are we doing? Because we're not using any sorts of pesticides at all. We are far away from any kind of industry. So it's like, what's going on? So Mariko was really impactful, very helpful in just helping us at each stage. Like, okay, where could that interaction, come with for bacteria? Like, what are we doing and how can we change it? And we ended up with this great ozone system where the ozone water is what cleans our leaves. And so we haven't had to use any chemicals up to this point in our cleaning process, and got great lab results. And we're just getting our heavy metal testing done, but we're hoping that those results will be good too. So yeah, it's just been really neat, and it's doable work. Again, it just kind of goes in line with the culture, which in really hot parts of the world where people need that break in the afternoon, this is perfect because they get up in the morning, they harvest moringa, they clean the moringa, they get it in some solar tunnel dryers, and then it sits for 4 to 6 hours while it dries, and people can go about their day and do the things that they need to do. In the evening, they come, sort through those leaves, make sure nothing fell from the roof or anything into the leaves, and do that last sorting, getting any stems out and packaging. And so it's just really worked well. Everybody's really excited about the opportunity. It gives them money. They're getting paid through the company. And so it's meeting those kind of needs. And it's taken about 3 years, but now we have this last time when we were back last fall, and we were there pretty much full time, but we come back and forth to the US because our 4 sons live here. So we've had grandkids born and those kind of things. But we just came back, or when we were back this past fall, we had 2 more villages who have started growing moringa all on their own without asking or talking to us first. It was just like we showed up and they were like, oh, you need to go see this village, 15 minutes down.
They've heard through the grapevine that you all are doing this work and have an outlet for the moringa.
Right. And they're all excited about it.
I love that they're self-starting. You hear about this often, and in some of my other work, I see this with kind of global NGOs where they have a great solution, but they sometimes go and force a round peg in a square hole in these communities and don't involve the communities and they don't have a seat at the table. And it sounds like you just let them build the table, and then you created the opportunity for the vehicle for the business itself. Let's touch on that for a second. Can you give us a breakdown of the business model itself? What specifically these growers and these communities are now feeding into?
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, what they're doing, what now? What they're
As
feeding
far as
into?
the business model, what is the business model of SSP that now you've
Mm-hmm.
funneled these different growers into?
Well, our first village has been kind of unique because we have felt kind of like a family. And so what we did is SSP was responsible for all the infrastructure because they didn't have the capital to invest in that way. So we are building all the buildings, we're getting the machinery, we're doing all the research, and they are growing the moringa. They're the ones who are responsible for planting and weeding and that type of thing, the oversight. And then we are just splitting our profits. So it's a 60-40 share. SSP gets 60%. And it's basically, we were like, we want to do it half and half. I'm not sure if that's the kind of thing that you're asking for.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
So we wanted to put aside 10 to 15% for the new villages, and then we would split the rest of the profits, basically, is how we decided to do it. I don't know if we can do that with every village because it'll just depend on our price point. We're having a hard time meeting price points for making that sustainable and profitable. But we're hoping, we're working towards that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's just good because understanding some of the economics and some of the investment, some of the infrastructure, some of the implementation of these types of projects is valuable to understand, because it can sound nice on paper, but the ability to actually turn that into a sustainable business is a
Yeah.
completely different thing. As
Right.
you're finding out and learning through this 3+ year process for you,
Yeah.
it's valuable to see what the challenges are, how you create the financial model for that, how you forecast your production and your sales, how you create a sales funnel. Any of those pieces, I think, are really important so that we create a viable potential outcomes for these types of moringa businesses. So I appreciate you sharing that.
I think that's the hardest part about doing business in hard to reach places. I mean, we are really out in the middle of nowhere. So it does mean that, like, in the province we're in, there isn't any other industry. So if we want to, we're having to outsource for everything. So that means it's coming from other places in Indonesia, and the shipping costs are high. It was taking us a lot longer to sell than we had wanted to. So we started, like, they're actually ahead of the game as far, we're under as far as SSP, the company. We're not profitable yet, but we wanted to make sure that they had fair wages. So that has been what is important to us. And I think if we continue to just be faithful to that, it'll all sort out in the end, because we have a premium product that we all feel good about. So some of the things that some of the problems we've run into are working with the local government is difficult, in that things run slower than what we would like, as far as getting all of our permissions for what they're equivalent to the FDA. Those things have been difficult. So, if we start a business maybe in a different country, we might say, okay, we're going to start a business, and then we need to get this letter of permission. And there we're looking at departments saying, oh, maybe in 6 months we could give you the permission. Well, that's a long time in a company's life, So it's learning to be respectful, and yet also continue to put things before them that we really need to, get things done. But I think it's helpful. And like you were mentioning, when you're doing something in another country, understanding the culture. And we've been there for 20 years. So we do know that. We have relationships. We know how important relationships are. And I think that will give our company an edge in all this. So hopefully.
Yeah. We kind of buried the lead. SSP, what does that stand for? I know it's an Indonesian word that you were gracious enough to not make me pronounce.
Satu Suku Pertanian. And it's basically means one tribe of farmers, because we're all from all different parts of the world, and we're coming together to do one thing. And so we worked in another area of Papua, and we're growing coffee there. Coffee takes a long time to grow, but we wanted to get something started for there. So there's just, there's people from all over, and we're all working together. So that's how
Okay, I like that too as well. You're kind of diversifying. You're creating the infrastructure. You're creating the business model itself. There
Mhm,
could be other agricultural products, services that fit into that as
mhm,
that kind of collective, and the ability to be a top tier product and
mhm.
production when it comes to agriculture. Because you mentioned that's a very culturally relevant skill and ability that's already baked in,
Yes.
which I think
Mhm,
is
mhm.
really nice there. The community itself, how does growing and being able to sell moringa and having that level of empowerment over their own financial futures and their financial stability, how has that kind of evolved or changed the dynamic of that community? I'm sure it's been very palpable. Can you give us some insight there?
Yeah, it's been amazing because, and I don't want to, I want to be careful that I'm not too negative about things like tourism, because we all like to be tourists. We all
Of
like
course.
to visit the world. And again, the world's becoming so small that it's so easy to get to all these places, right? And all of a sudden you just land in somebody else's home, and you're enjoying all the things that they get to see every day. And us being, non-citizens living there, of course, I just, we're just always wanting to be respectful. However, tourism does take a toll on the people, the local people in those areas. And so, for instance, before SSP, the people in those villages would maybe send out an aunt or an uncle to work in maybe a dive lodge or homestays or resorts or whatever, and they would be gone for weeks at a time and then come back. So they're going out to earn money and then coming home. And so we really love the idea of creating opportunities for communities to stay together, raise their families, and to enjoy the land that they have and the things that they can do without that. I mean, there still is that opportunity, right? But creating different opportunities as well. So that's one thing that we've really enjoyed, and they've enjoyed as too. So, and I think these other villages, like I mentioned, we've got about 5 villages that are now growing moringa. One that's got maybe about 20 acres of land. They're like, we want to
Incredible.
grow moringa. And once again, we've made no agreement with them yet, but they already have trees that are like 6 feet tall. And so we're really thankful for that, because it just helps with everything, with education, with, diet and nutrition, all these things. Just being able to get around the islands takes money. And so this is a way that they can do that, and do it together as a community. So
Yeah.
far, so good. We really like the model.
I like that, staying tight knit with the community and allowing them to not have to be separate just to be
Mhm,
able to survive. I think makes a lot of
mhm.
sense too. So everything you're talking about here, this is really great work that you're doing. What are some of the offerings that you have? How are you processing and producing the product itself? What are some of the different products that are going to market, bulk, retail? Like, give us an idea of kind of the offerings.
Yeah, we're really new at that part of the game. We did find out, I guess it was mid last year, that moringa being sold in Indonesia, it can only be sold by Indonesians. It can only be sold by an Indonesian company, which I think is great, because this keeps things that are intrinsic to Indonesia Indonesian.
Hmm.
And because they are, yeah, it's just good for the people. So we started a sister company of SSP called Sari Papua Superfoods, which means like the essence of Papua superfoods. And we did that with some of the same people in the village, people that we know. They started that company so that they can sell the moringa themselves. And we're going to do that with moringa tea, moringa powder, and some other things that they want to do. But mostly we're focusing on moringa. Oh, and we haven't mentioned butterfly pea flowers, but we are growing that right along with our moringa, because
Okay.
it is a nitrogen fixing plant.
Right.
So it's just helping the moringa be more nutritious. And so that could also be a cash crop that they use. So those are the things we're doing, mostly tea. And we really enjoy the tea. I mean, I enjoy eating moringa fresh, but if you have to have it dried, I like it in a tea. I told your mom I want to start experimenting with matcha.
Yes.
And
And that'll drive your price point up because there's already well-established high-end market for matcha.
Right. Yeah, very, very interesting. And Southeast Asia loves tea. We all love tea there. So I think that'll be a really good product. We're waiting for our FDA final approval to actually put it in the market, but we have buyers already who are interested in buying that product.
So you're looking at the U.S. as a viable market for.
So that's domestic. That's inside Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
So
Their version of the FDA.
Foreign company, we can't brand something as of now. We don't have permissions to brand something and send it to the U.S. But we do have a few bulk buyers who have bought just our powder. So we have exported about two tons. I shouldn't say that. I think it's 1.5. And then we actually had like a bulk buyer in Indonesia who's a foreign business. They bought about a half a ton. So yeah, about 2 tons so far we've sold.
Libby, that's incredible. You're in the tonnage, the Moringa tonnage business now.
I know, I'm amazed. That's a lot of Moringa powder.
That's a lot of Moringa powder.
Yeah.
That makes you one of a handful of people who are producing that much Moringa anywhere in the world, which is
really wow.
Which is incredible. Yeah, the Moringa production is typically not that large.
Yeah.
And if you start to layer in the high level of product, right, the ability to be able to look at the testing and get heavy metals out of it, it's one of the things with Moringa is its ability to absorb and uptake so many nutrients from the soil also means that it has the potential to uptake things like heavy metals and have issues, with the bacteria, as you mentioned. So it's very sensitive plant, and it's very much an expression of the ecosystem that you're in. So you can tell, and that creates some challenges. Absolutely. So the fact that you're in the multiple ton, like you should be very proud of that. And the community,
it's been a lot of hard work, but again, I just feel like, yeah, it's very purposeful work too. We've really enjoyed the results. Not to mention, we feel so good about, Moringa For Life class really made me a believer in the plant, that this is good for us. We should all be eating our Moringa. And so when you work for something that you actually are consuming and that you want other people to consume, that helps because it's, it's a motivator. So,
right. To push through those hard times.
Eating Moringa. It's like they would not have eaten it before. And we're like, yeah, try it, eat it. A lot of people would just have it in their yard, like I mentioned, maybe throw it in a soup every once in a while, but it was not a daily thing that they consumed. So that's a really neat part of what we're doing too, just that it's a great supplement to your diet. And so for kids and malnutrition and all those kind of things, I think we can be a big voice for that in Indonesia.
It's it's intentional, and it's also a byproduct of this, International Moringa For Life network, is that these students and these projects all over the world starting to connect them and connect their stories and connect their work, and seeing somebody in your part of the world like Mohana Gill, who published the book Moringalicious, and then she's cooking recipes with her grandson, and there's all of a sudden a generational connection to cooking with Moringa. It makes a difference. It creates an opportunity for us to understand how to participate in utilizing Moringa on a day-to-day basis, beyond just tea, beyond as a supplement, but have it be something that we gather around the table. So being very multifaceted and multi-layered in the way that we're approaching Moringa, I think, is the way to go. So the fact that you're thinking about it from the business standpoint, you're thinking about it from the cultural standpoint, you're thinking about it just from being able to consume the product on a daily basis, that's how it's going to become just innate in the way that we interact with that plant and the way that we interact with our bodies and our food and our health and all that. So you are absolutely on the right path. And I'm so grateful that you give us the opportunity to kind of share in your journey and be a part of that. And I love that you even said those dated videos. There's some 8-9-year-old videos there now. Like Marco's been producing Moringa For Life videos for a long time. So it's great that they may be dated, but they still have relevance, right, as a foundation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's great to see that kind of play out. Let's look forward for a couple minutes.
Okay.
some hopes, some challenges on the horizon. What's kind of the next 6 months, year plus look like for you? Obviously, you mentioned you got some of these other potential villages and more acreage coming online, and the potential to grow now that maybe you have a foothold with that kind of local FDA there, how that works, the sister company. So you've kind of laid some groundwork for us, but give us maybe the broader vision moving forward.
I think the challenge that we're going to have is geography. So all of our islands are spread out. And so, as you know, when that moringa gets harvested, it needs to be taken care of right away. And so we're just really wanting to be careful about how we spread, how we expand the business, because we want it all done well, and to preserve that. Just like everything that we've learned in this first home village, we want to be able to reproduce in other villages. We don't want our quality to go unchecked in all these different villages. I think that's going to be our first challenge, because everybody's so excited about it, and we're excited too. But it's going to take that investment in getting the proper processing, location infrastructure in each of those villages.
Right.
So that's going to take a little bit of investment. We are looking at least one of those villages starting this year, but we just don't want to go too fast that we can't really take care of the village, the villagers, and the moringa. And we'll need some more help, and just kind of take everything slowly. I think that's our challenge.
Yeah.
Really,
the investment there has to be massive, because you're having to create the entire logistics for the supply chain and the transportation, which I know is more than half the cost right there that you're dealing with that supply chain. The fact that you have this beautiful untapped kind of potential in the land there and the great soil also means you have to figure out how to get it anywhere, let alone to like viable markets that are big enough to support the amount of commerce that you're looking to do. So I appreciate you've taken a big bite out of the elephant. This is great. And you're probably also going to set a lot of foundational groundwork for other projects, I could imagine, around the world when it comes to moringa or other products as well, because you're learning the hard lessons right now. So we appreciate you. The first person over the wall gets kind of beat up sometimes. And so,
well, it's okay.
Thanks for that.
It's trial and error, right?
Yeah. So that's some of the challenge. I can imagine that. And I appreciate you sharing that and being candid with that. What's the big pie in the sky then? How does this evolve into kind of that vision that you have for moringa and your own moringa journey therein?
We have a big vision. We'd like to see Indonesia being the largest exporter of moringa in the world.
There we go.
Really feel like it could do that. It is set up for it. People already know about it, know how to grow it. It's just getting the word out. And I think our sister company, our domestic company, will really have an opportunity this year to get the product out there, to encourage other people to start growing it. So, hopefully that vision will, come to fruition here in a few years.
It's a great vision, and it's very tactile. I can feel and touch it. Indonesia being the largest exporter of moringa in the world, full stop. Like that is just a great way, because it initiates so much excitement. It's the kind of thing too where the local and the national governments there start to see that as an opportunity, not just for the commerce side of it, that it creates an identity. That there's something that creates a sense of pride within the culture and within the country. I think you being able to kind of spur that on, again, utilizing the local communities and understanding the culture, I think is important. Because as I alluded to, sometimes, there's the white savior complex that I mentioned with these kind of international NGOs and some of that comes into play, that you are clearly sensitive of, which is why I know you're going to succeed at it, because you are making sure that it starts from the soil up versus being this top down delineated thing that then is hard to understand what the vision and purpose actually is. So this is really great to hear. I'd love to just take a moment for some shout outs. Who are some of the people on your team I mentioned the video. I saw everyone was wearing the SSP shirts.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I can tell the techniques. They're following the Moringa for Life
Oh
playbook
yeah, they're
exactly with
sold
how
on.
they're shipping
I
those.
mean, we've totally made our replacements there. They could run with that, or they are. We've been here for 3 months, and they've just been doing everything on their own. So we love that too. That they just own it and have been going for it. So Fifi and Adi, they're our general managers, and we couldn't do this without them. So for sure, and everybody in YFR, that's the name of the village. So everybody in YFR, good job.
That's beautiful. Love that. Fifi and Addie, we appreciate you. You're doing real work that sometimes when you're in the small village, you don't realize that. And I want them to realize, like, I can't wait until they watch this episode and hear their names mentioned. That matters. It really matters that now there's an international audience watching and rooting for you and them. Like, that's the kind of thing that matters. That creates a community and a sense of purpose. They already have a great sense of purpose with what they're doing for their own communities, as we've talked about and as you've highlighted. But now they're part of something even bigger than themselves, which is really motivating, which is really powerful. So appreciate that for sure. When are you heading back?
Next week.
Okay.
Next Friday. Yeah.
Okay. Last question. What's the first thing that you do when you get there? Do you go and roll around in the moringa trees and get reconnected to the land? What is that thing you do there? It's almost a ceremonial where you dip your foot in the pond where it all started. Like, what is that for you?
Well, one of their traditions is to meet you on the dock. So everything's done by water, right? So we come in by boat, and usually, there's a lot of hugs and shaking of hands and just excitement to see each other. So that's what I'm looking forward to. That's
great. The meeting on the docks. Okay, you need to make sure and get the photo op of the meeting on the docks. Send that to us. We'll put it out on our social media and say, here's Libby, Fifi, and Addie, and they're meeting at the docks, and the next chapter is evolving. Libby Wild, really appreciate the work that you're doing. Appreciate you sharing with all of us. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, and thanks for sharing, on the podcast here. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely great. All right, everyone, that is it with Libby Wild of SSP in Indonesia, doing amazing work there. Make sure and follow the journey and check out all the content that we'll be putting out around this episode.